A Day on the Silk Road. It is the year 630. The Tang dynasty rules China. The Byzantine Empire still stands in Constantinople. And between them, stretching for 4,000 miles across the heart of Asia, lies the greatest trade route the world has ever known. The Silk Road. The Silk Road is not a single road. It is a network, a web of paths and trails and caravan routes that connect the cities of China with the markets of Persia, the ports of India, the bazaars of Baghdad, and ultimately the distant shores of the Mediterranean. Along these routes travel not just silk, but spices, gems, gold, glass, paper, gunpowder, ideas, religions, and stories. In the oasis city of Samarkand, a merchant named Ahmed rises before dawn. Samarkand is one of the jewels of the Silk Road. It sits in the valley of the Zeravshan River, surrounded by mountains, a green island in a sea of desert. For centuries, it has been a crossroads of civilizations. Here, Persian traders meet Chinese caravans. Here, Buddhist monks share tea with Nestorian Christians. Here, the languages of a dozen peoples mingle in the dusty air of the bazaars. Ahmed is 40 years old. He has been a merchant for 20 years, following in the footsteps of his father and his father's father. His family has traded along the Silk Road for 5 generations. They have bought and sold silk from China, lapis lazuli from the mines of Badakhshan, pepper and cinnamon from India, glassware from Syria, and the exquisite paper that the Chinese invented and the Arabs perfected. His warehouse is a treasure house. Bales of raw silk, still carrying the faint smell of the mulberry leaves on which the silkworms fed. Saffron, the most precious of spices, worth more than its weight in gold. Porcelain bowls so thin that light shines through them. A carved ivory casket from Africa. A bronze mirror from a workshop in Chang'an, the great capital of the Tang. The caravan that Ahmed is preparing will travel west, toward Persia. It will take 4 months to reach its destination. The journey is dangerous. There are bandits in the mountains. There are deserts where a man can walk for days without finding water. There are passes so high that the air is thin and the cold can kill. But the rewards, for those who survive, are immense. A single successful caravan can make a merchant wealthy for life. Ahmed's caravan is modest. 30 camels, each carrying 2 bales of silk and a small chest of spices. 10 men to guard and guide them, a mix of Sogdians, Persians, and Turks, all experienced desert travelers. They carry water in goatskins, food in leather bags, and their weapons always close at hand. The camels are the soul of the caravan. They are Bactrian camels, with 2 humps and shaggy brown coats, perfectly adapted to the harsh conditions of the Silk Road. They can carry 500 pounds. They can go for days without water. They can survive on the thorny desert scrub that would kill a horse. And they have personalities, each one is different, each one has a name. Ahmed's favorite is a gentle old male named Rustam, after the Persian hero. Rustam has crossed the desert 12 times. He knows the way better than any man. At dawn, the caravan assembles outside the city gates. The camels grumble and groan as they are loaded. The men check their weapons and their water. Ahmed makes a final offering at a small roadside shrine, a handful of incense, a whispered prayer to the god of travelers, whoever that god might be. On the Silk Road, it is wise to pray to all the gods. You never know which one is listening. Then, with a cry from the lead camel driver, the caravan begins to move. The bells on the camels' harnesses jingle softly, a sound that has been heard on these roads for 1,000 years. The first day's journey is easy. The road follows the river valley, green and fertile. Farmers work in the fields. Children run alongside the caravan, begging for sweets. Ahmed tosses them a handful of dried dates. They cheer and run back to their village. But by the third day, the green has faded to brown. The river is behind them. Ahead lies the desert, the Kyzyl, the red sand. It stretches for hundreds of miles, a sea of dunes and gravel plains, beautiful and terrible. The temperature during the day can exceed 50 degrees. At night, it drops below freezing. The caravan travels by night now, when it is cooler, and rests during the heat of the day. The camels walk in a long, silent line, their shadows stretching behind them in the moonlight. The stars overhead are impossibly bright, undimmed by any artificial light. Ahmed knows the constellations, the camel, the eagle, the great bear. His father taught him to navigate by the stars, as his father's father taught him. At dawn, the caravan stops. The men pitch a simple tent. They eat dried meat and flatbread. They drink sparingly from their water skins. Then they sleep, huddled in their cloaks against the cold. On the seventh day, they see another caravan approaching from the west. Both groups stop. This is the custom of the road. Ahmed and the other merchant meet in the middle, exchange greetings, share tea. They exchange news, what prices can be expected in the markets ahead, which routes are safe, which passes are blocked by snow or bandits. The meeting is brief but vital. On the Silk Road, information is as valuable as silk. On the 10th day, they reach the mountains. The Pamir Range, the roof of the world. The passes here are over 15,000 feet. The air is thin and cold. The camels struggle. One of them, a young female, slips on the icy trail and breaks her leg. There is nothing to be done. Ahmed says a prayer and one of the guards ends her suffering quickly. Her load is distributed among the other camels. The caravan moves on. The Silk Road does not wait for the weak. On the 20th day, a sandstorm strikes. The sky turns brown. The wind howls like a living thing. The men wrap their faces in cloth and huddle behind the camels. The storm lasts for 6 hours. When it passes, everything is covered in a fine layer of dust. One of the men is missing, a young Turk who had only joined the caravan last month. They search for him, but the desert has swallowed him whole. They mark the spot with a pile of stones and move on. On the 30th day, they see the walls of Merv rising from the desert haze. Merv is one of the great cities of the Eastern Islamic world, a center of learning and trade. Its libraries contain tens of thousands of manuscripts. Its bazaars are filled with goods from every corner of the known world. Ahmed feels a surge of relief. The hardest part of the journey is over. In Merv, Ahmed sells half his silk at a profit that would make a modern businessman weep with envy. He buys pearls from the Persian Gulf, saffron from the fields of Khorasan, and a small, exquisite carpet woven by the hands of a master craftsman. He will sell these in Samarkand on his return journey, for a profit even greater than the silk. He rests in Merv for a week. He prays at the great mosque. He visits the public baths. He writes a letter to his wife and children, which will travel back to Samarkand with another caravan. He does not know when they will receive it. Months, perhaps. Perhaps never. The Silk Road teaches patience. And then he joins another caravan and begins the journey home. This is the life of a Silk Road merchant. Months of hardship punctuated by moments of wonder. Years of travel through lands of impossible beauty and impossible danger. A life measured not in days or weeks, but in the distances between cities, in the weight of a camel's load, in the glint of silk in the morning sun. The Silk Road is gone now. The cities that Ahmed knew, Merv, Samarkand, Bukhara, still stand, but the caravans no longer walk the desert. The camels have been replaced by trucks. The spices travel by air. The world has grown small. But in the quiet of a desert night, if you listen carefully, you can almost hear the bells of the camels, the soft jingling of 1,000 years of trade, 1,000 years of travel, 1,000 years of human connection across the vast and lonely spaces of the world. The goods that traveled the Silk Road were more than merchandise. They were messengers of civilization. When a bolt of Chinese silk reached a Roman noblewoman, it carried with it the story of the distant East, of empires more ancient than Rome, of technologies and arts that the West had never imagined. When a Persian glass bowl reached a Tang dynasty courtier, it spoke of the sophistication of the lands beyond the western deserts. The Silk Road was the internet of the ancient world, a network along which not just goods, but ideas, religions, inventions, and stories flowed freely across the boundaries of empires. Buddhism traveled from India to China along the Silk Road. Islam spread east from Arabia. Nestorian Christianity reached as far as the Tang capital. The technology of papermaking, invented in China, was carried west by captured Chinese craftsmen after a battle in Samarkand, and from there spread to Baghdad and eventually to Europe, where it made possible the printing revolution and the Renaissance. Gunpowder, the compass, the concept of zero, all of these traveled the Silk Road. The modern world was stitched together along these dusty desert paths. Ahmed the merchant, riding his camel through the Kyzyl desert, did not think of himself as a shaper of world history. He thought about the price of silk in Merv. He thought about whether the mountain passes would be clear of snow. He thought about his wife and children waiting for him in Samarkand. But in his own small way, he was part of something vast, a web of human connection that stretched across the known world, binding East and West together in a network of trust and exchange that had endured for 1,000 years and would endure for 1,000 more. The Silk Road is gone now, but its legacy remains. The cities it connected are still there: Samarkand, Bukhara, Kasha, Merv, their blue domes and minarets still rising above the desert. The descendants of the merchants and camel drivers still live in those cities. And sometimes, in the quiet of a desert evening, when the stars come out and the wind whispers across the sands, you can almost hear the bells of the caravans, still ringing, still traveling, still connecting the world.